Hi, welcome to Zillennial Dissonance, the channel you're currently watching on youtube.com, where I make videos about games, 2000s nostalgia, or just whatever I'm feeling like at any given moment. I'm JJ the Zillennial, and you might be a bit confused at me saying that if you're a longtime viewer. Or if you recently subscribed. What happened to the floaty chairperson? Well, I wanted to make this little update video to clear the air and talk about some important changes that have been happening around here, including what my upcoming plans are for the channel. Things are gonna get a bit more real, including a discussion on some stuff that's a bit more uncomfortable to talk about. So, disclaimer there, but I think it's important to do so. So, I'm actually a girl. One who was part of the Alphabet Mafia, no less. At the end of my last video, I pulled off the disguise that I've been wearing for the last year and a half and revealed that I'm trans. So I'm well aware of the fact that not every subscriber watches every video that I make. And the big reveal came at the tail end of a 2-hour-long experience, so I don't blame everybody for not knowing. And that's partially why this video exists, to prevent confusion, because I know this change appears pretty drastic. And in a lot of ways it is. It's kind of hard to not acknowledge things. But the thing is, aside from my outer shell changing to reflect my internal self, nothing around here is gonna change too drastically, for the most part. So I originally didn't want to talk about or even address this. At one point, I was kind of hoping I could go stealth, largely out of a desire for self-preservation. But for a few key reasons, I realized that this was actually a terrible idea, and I realized that doing this just didn't feel right. So, big uncomfortable elephant in the room, being trans in America is a fucking nightmare right now, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. The trans community is at the center of a raging culture war that's not showing any signs of stopping anytime soon. And if you're not a part of this community, it's really hard to grasp just how bad the ramifications of all of this can really be. I'm only speaking to my experience living in the US, but the internet is worldwide. And if you exist as a trans person on the internet, it becomes an immediate controversy. Trans people are baselessly called groomers and pedophiles just for existing. And at least in the United States, as of the time that I'm recording this audio, there are 491 proposed anti-LGBTQ+ bills, most of which target trans people specifically. These bills focus on everything ranging from restricting healthcare, to banning trans people from public spaces, to banning the mere acknowledgement of queer people in schools, which are notoriously only attended by straight cisgender kids. Just 4 years ago, in 2019, the number of anti-trans bills proposed was only 19 for the whole year, which is still 19 bills too many, but this puts into perspective just how relentless the attacks on this community have been recently. And it's true that most of these bills don't pass, but a concerning amount of them do. And the fact that these bills are taken seriously in the first place, and the fact that so many people in power feel emboldened enough to get them far along in the chain of command, is incredibly concerning. Every success that the queer community has had over the last decade is under attack, and this needs to be acknowledged, especially around Pride Month, which exists because queer people have not been treated very well historically. Now, you might be taken aback by the fact that I just got political, and yes, this is technically a political discussion now, and people don't like when politics are randomly shoved into things. But I assure you, this isn't random. The thing is, trans people existing is not, and never should be, a political thing. Our existence has been made political by the people trying to use us as a fear-mongering tactic to get votes. And it's a losing issue, but the effects that are happening now are real. This legislation, the talking points, and just the overall perceptions are affecting real people that exist. I have to think about these things. I have to live with them, and I don't get to pretend that none of this is happening, as much as I wish I could sometimes, because people in power are literally trying to commit genocide on the group of people that I am a part of. And yes, genocide is a strong word, but it is very accurate. If you're interested, I'm gonna link some resources below that explain why this is the case. Now look, We can disagree on a lot of things. We can disagree on things like sports teams or film opinions, but human rights are not something that I will budge or compromise on. Trans people have existed since the beginning of written human history, basically the beginning of gender, which exists on a spectrum, is separate from sex, and supporting and affirming trans people is exactly what every reputable medical organization in the world supports. To claim otherwise is to deny the credibility of peer-reviewed studies and history. One of the reasons I'm out publicly is because while I know how much shit I'm gonna get for it from certain kinds of people, I also think it's incredibly important to be firm about where I stand, and I want other people to know that this place is safe, that this channel and the community surrounding it are welcoming and accepting. As a trans person, a woman, and a person of color, I understand how important representation can be in this very white, male-dominated space. I'd be a big hypocrite if I said trans rights while also hiding away my trans identity, and I feel like it would make my content more deceptive in a way. Putting a facade can often wear on you. I was honestly getting really tired of hiding away this aspect of myself. Being trans isn't my core defining character trait or anything, but it's still a core part of who I am, and it influences my place in the world, as well as how I perceive the very media that I talk about on this channel. So why not embrace it? Because in spite of everything, I'm proud of who I am, and I'm not ashamed to be trans. Why hide that on a channel that's built around my point of view, my perspective, and my opinions? When I put all of that into perspective, my hesitations melted away. I know that some people are going to respond negatively to this, but I've come to terms with that. People who might make this community more toxic probably shouldn't be here anyway. So in this case, I'll just let the trash take itself out. So shifting gears slightly to talk about the channel itself, what changes are going to be happening now that the egg is cracked and the news is out? Well, not much. At least nothing too significant that wasn't already in the pipeline. See, I've been trans this whole time. I just needed to wait for the right time to be open about it. Gaining a bunch of male subscribers from a video about a zombie game franchise didn't seem like it was quite the right time. So I decided to keep making videos and allow my audience to diversify a little bit. This gave me the chance to build up my confidence and consider if YouTube was actually going to be a viable platform, which so far it's, for the most part, been. I've been wanting to expand the kind of content that I make for a while and diversify the things that I talk about here. No, this channel isn't going to be exclusively about queer topics now, though I may dabble a little here and there. I mostly just want to be really experimental and get really big and ambitious with new ideas. Like how the last few videos have had lore, and the most recent one ended with a song. Some of the stuff that I'm currently planning or am in the early stages of working on has me incredibly excited, and I now have a lot of fun topics that I'm really excited to cover. A good chunk of them focusing on media from the 2000s, which I'm kind of trying to make my niche. The channel's name is Zillennial Dissonance, and initially it was based off of the idea of 2000s nostalgia. To the uninitiated, ergo people not living in the US, because I have a decent international audience, which I think is really cool, the terms millennial and Gen Z refer to groups of people born in a specific window of time. And a zillennial is a word that I made up to describe myself and others like me, because while I'm technically part of Gen Z, I was born in the late 90s, which places me in this weird cutoff period. I'm right on the cusp, and I don't really identify with either groups. So Zillennial is basically my shorthand for 2000s kid. I'm basically treating this channel as a sort of variety show. Sometimes I talk about games, sometimes I make video essays, sometimes I make retrospectives for media from the 2000s. Sometimes I write original songs, and sometimes, well, I'll save some surprises for when the time is right. To those who subscribed because of my Paper Mario videos, I'm currently taking an intermission to make some smaller scale videos because burnout is a thing that I'm trying to avoid. And the games in question that these videos are about aren't exactly short. My plan is to be back with the next Paper Mario video sometime in August, though that date is subject to change depending on outside factors. Either way, once that series is done, I'll finally get to unveil my final form. What? Final form, you say? Yup. This current avatar, or Sona, who was commissioned by Master Kahlua, is a temporary form I'm assuming for the next handful of videos. This other person, they're not coming back. At least, not as me. If you want more context, the lore is in the last few videos that I made, playlist in the description, I guess. And that's all the tease that I'm giving for now. Lastly, I want to acknowledge the 2000s, as in the over 2,000 subscribers that I now have after my most recent video. Oh hell yeah. I guess that technically makes this a 2K sub special. I want to say thank you to everyone who decided that I was worth subscribing to, and sorry that I didn't have anything ready for when I actually hit that number. I've been a little busy with a certain game lately. 1,000 subscribers already felt like a pretty insane number to me when we hit that a year ago, and a year later, we're now double that. I feel honored, excited, and more legit. So thanks again for getting us to this number. I don't take any of you for granted, and I'm really excited to see where this whole YouTube thing goes from here. Okay, so before we close out this mini update video, I also want to apologize for just barely missing Pride Month. This is my first out and proud video, and it's probably going up in July, isn't it? Yup, sorry. Well, you know what? That's fine, because every month is Pride Month on this channel. Anyway, you can still call me JJ if you want, but I also go by Lady Zillennial, or just Lady. My pronouns are she, her, and anyone who intentionally misgenders me or calls me a man, cool, I guess. These are all NPC talking points. These types of comments will not be taken seriously here. I encourage my community to not seriously engage with those types of comments, because the people leaving them aren't worth your time. What is worth your time is joining the Zillennial Dissonance Discord server, or as I call it, the Zillennial Discord. Puns are, certainly a passion. I don't know if they're my passion. So if you want to become a part of our small but growing community, I'll have the invite linked in the description below. And if you would like to help this struggling trans girl pay her bills, I have a Patreon, patreon.com/zillennialdissonance. I will also have that linked in the description. We've got a few different tiers, and at the highest current level, you get a verbal shout out at the end of my videos, like Laura Flynn, who is in fact in that tier. So thank you. I really appreciate it. You're amazing. Anyways, I'm in the final stages of editing the next video, which should be out in the next few days. This one is all about The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I was initially going to make a 20 to 30 minute long video, but yeah, I had a lot to say. It's part of why this video took so long to get out. Also because it's really hard to edit the spoiler section when my partner's in the room because she still hasn't beaten the game, so whoops. But yeah, this should be coming out in the next few days. So thanks everyone for watching this little update video. And though Pride Month is over, I still want to wish all of my queer and non-queer viewers a happy existence. To those of you who are dealing with a lot right now, I'm proud of you for choosing to still be here and to continue fighting. You are not alone, and we're a lot stronger together. I'm just a girl who makes silly YouTube videos, but know that you will always be welcome here. I am Lady Zillennial, and I will see you in the next video.